Let's start by asking a basic but important question. Is alcohol a drug? The answer is yes, but more specifically, it's a psychoactive drug. A psychoactive drug is a substance that changes how the brain works, how we think, feel, or behave by altering neurochemical activity. That includes opioids, cocaine, benzodiazepines, and yes, alcohol. Even though alcohol is legal and socially accepted, it's classified as a central nervous system depressant. That means it slows down brain activity, especially in areas responsible for decision making, movement, memory, and emotions. Alcohol increases the activity of GABA, an inhibitory neurotransmitter, and decreases glutamate, which normally keeps the brain more alert and active. In simpler terms, alcohol dials down the brain's speed. That's why people slur their words, lose coordination, make poor choices, or become overly emotional when they drink. It also releases dopamine, which gives that temporary rush of feel, that temporary rush, or, that good feeling that makes people want to drink again. Now, let's compare alcohol to other psychoactive drugs. Like opioids, alcohol dulls pain, slows breathing at high doses, and produces euphoria, though opioids do so more directly through the body's natural opioid receptors. Like stimulants, such as cocaine or meth, alcohol can create initial bursts of confidence or energy, especially at lower doses, due to dopamine spikes. But that quickly shifts into sedation as more is consumed. And like benzodiazepines, for example, Xanax, alcohol enhances GABA activity, creating a calming or anti anxiety effect. This is why alcohol and benzodiazepines are both dangerous to mix. They amplify each other's sedating effects and can depress breathing. Now let's talk about something crucial. Legal does not mean that it's safe. We often hear people say, well, alcohol's legal, so it can't be that bad. But that is a myth. The legality of a drug often has more to do with history, culture, and economics than with its actual danger level. For example, alcohol withdrawal, just like withdrawal from benzodiazepines, can be life-threatening. That's not true for all illegal drugs. So again, legality doesn't mean harmless. Now is a great time to deep dive as to why, like the headline states, alcohol is still a drug. It's the world's second most popular drug, and why alcohol is the deadliest drug. Now, opioids are taking the news headlines by storm, and rightfully so. Okay, we're living amongst a deadly opioid epidemic, especially here in the US. Okay, there are people dying from prescription pills every day, and they are not doing enough to reduce that number. All right. However, what we don't hear enough about is how alcohol affects, how deadly alcohol is. Alcohol is the most socially accepted drug on the market, and it is the most easily acceptable. So, knowing this, the general public still has a tendency to believe that alcohol is okay or that it's not dangerous and it's an acceptable form of relaxation. Well, guess what? Science tells us something very different. Alcohol is the deadliest drug of them all right? Alcohol is the third leading preventable cause of death in the United States. The National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism has reported that alcohol causes about 88,000 deaths a year. Alcohol has shortened the lifespan of those 88,000 human beings by 30 years. Of all other drugs combined, only 30,000 deaths do they cause a year. So alcohol is causing 88,000 deaths a year, and all the other drugs combined cause about 30,000 deaths a year. And let's go back to, what we see in the news and the media. We do see a lot of things, cases about fentanyl and different things like that. The difference is while we think, while those things do hold great magnitude, the difference is that alcohol is the drug that is legal. It's in the store, grocery store, gas station, corner store. It's everywhere. So because it's so normalized, we don't think that it's the drug that causes the most deaths a year. But yes, again, it causes the most deaths a year compared to all the other drugs combined. And, even with knowing this, alcohol is still more common than other drugs. And alcohol distributors and bartenders are not looked at like drug dealers who are selling heroin or cocaine. Alcohol is different than other illicit substances that we know cause overdose deaths because alcohol can kill people slowly. Alcohol is the drug that slowly deteriorates the body. And there was a study done in 2010 by a group of British scientists, and alcohol was rated the most harmful drug overall and almost 3 times as harmful as cocaine and tobacco. There was also a comparison to ecstasy, and that was only 1/8 as harmful as alcohol. This ranking encouraged the scientists to say that, aggressively targeting the harms of alcohol is necessary as a public health strategy. And they also mentioned that the current drug classifications had little to do with the relation to the evidence of harm. So just because cocaine and heroin are illegal does not make them more dangerous. And I need to repeat that. Just because cocaine and heroin are illegal does not make them more dangerous than alcohol. The World Health Organization estimates risks linked to alcohol cause 2.5 million deaths worldwide each year from heart and liver disease, from road accidents, from suicides, and from cancer. So, on the scale given by the scientists, alcohol received a score of 72 out of 100. Heroin received a 55, and while crack cocaine received a 54. Alcohol is more easily accessible than most other drugs. Even though it is the deadliest drug, alcohol is legal in the US and in Britain, as well as many other countries around the world. And what we know and what we can see from this study and alcohol's far reaching effects, legal substances cause just as much damage or more than the illegal substances. And this might be in part because of how easy it is to access alcohol. And what's crazy, most people don't even call alcohol a drug because of its acceptance and accessibility in our society. So acceptance and accessibility makes people think that alcohol is not a drug. It's a more normalized drug, like caffeine. Caffeine is the number one, but people don't understand that. Anyway, and this is a good, yeah. So did you know that more people enter treatment facilities for alcohol misuse than any other drug? Now, according to Psychology Today, only 50% of Americans drink. Of that 50%, the majority of alcohol is consumed by the top 10%. Those are the heavy drinkers who consume about 73 drinks per week. This means that big alcohol must sell to heavy, problematic drinkers. Their target group or their target market is a group of people who are sick and they're suffering. This is no different from regular drug dealers who depend on consumers to buy their products. Now, alcohol causes a variety of diseases. Alcohol is the direct cause of 7 forms of cancer. Even light to moderate drinkers are at risk. There's a study that was published in the journal called Addiction that provided evidence that alcohol is the direct cause of breast, liver, colon, esophagus, and other types of cancer. The researchers also mentioned that there is growing evidence, though not conclusive yet, that alcohol also causes skin, prostate, and pancreatic cancer. Alcohol also causes fatty liver disease, cirrhosis of the liver, and alcohol hepatitis. These conditions can kill drinkers slowly and over many years. Heavy drinkers can weaken the heart and affect how oxygen and nutrients are delivered to certain organs in your body. Prolonged and excessive alcohol use can also interfere with brain function and structure. Not to mention the secondhand events that occur, like car accidents, DUIs, drunken injuries, toxic relationships, and destruction of property. The truth is, alcohol is the deadliest drug, and the research and statistics prove this. In a country that is focusing solely on the current opioid epidemic, these facts are a good reminder that alcohol is deadlier and more socially accepted than any of the other drugs. So, the next time someone tries to justify drinking alcohol, remember that it causes cancer and other diseases. Remember that it's 3 times as harmful as cocaine or tobacco, and it causes more deaths than all of the other drugs combined. We shouldn't just accept alcohol as a normal part of life. We have to talk about how deadly it is also. Now, let's pause for a minute and let's do a quick myth or fact round. I'll read a statement. You think about it for a moment and decide, is it myth or fact? So first, alcohol is a stimulant. Myth or fact? If you guessed myth, you were right. It's a depressant, though it can feel stimulating at first. Next, you can't get addicted to alcohol unless you drink every day. Myth or fact? For those of you who guessed myth, you guessed right. Addiction is about loss of control, not frequency. Third, alcohol withdrawal can be deadly. Myth or fact? This is indeed a fact, especially for heavy long-term users. Seizures and delirium tremens are real dangers. Fourth, mixing alcohol with prescription drugs can be dangerous. Myth or fact? For those who stated it's a fact, you're right, especially with benzodiazepines, opioids, and antidepressants. And lastly, alcohol is safer than illegal drugs. Myth or fact? This is indeed a myth. Alcohol causes more deaths globally than many illicit drugs combined. So, to bring it all together, alcohol is a powerful psychoactive drug. It alters brain chemistry, impacts behavior and emotions, and shares mechanisms and risks with many other substances, legal and illegal. Just because we see it at parties or on grocery store shelves doesn't make it any less serious. The more we understand how it really works, the better we can make informed, healthy choices for ourselves and for others. Now, let's take some time to reflect and discuss. So first, why do you think alcohol is often viewed differently than other drugs like opioids or cocaine, even though it also alters brain chemistry and carries serious health risks? Secondly, how does understanding alcohol as a psychoactive drug, similar to benzodiazepines or opioids, change your perception of its safety or risks? Third, in what ways does the legality and social acceptance of alcohol influence how people use it and talk about its dangers? And lastly, what are some common myths about alcohol use that you've heard? And how can we use science and education to challenge those myths?